Words affect people. Can you please be a little bit more careful? Like, goddamn. Sorry. Quitting veganism after 10 years. A couple of people recommended this to me. It's by Nicole. I don't know how you say her last name. I'm pretty sure she did a video like several years ago about veganism and it was good. But yeah, I'm hoping this is positive. I assume veganism is like, she is vegan but doesn't consider herself vegan because some vegans are mean and annoying, something like that. Or maybe she does a few like non-vegan things, leather, from Goodwill, right? So something like that is what I'm guessing, is what I'm hoping.
Hello. Oh my God, am I a vegan anymore? Wow. Never thought I'd be making this video.
Okay, so this is not going to be an ex-vegan video, like for sure. Right? I'm gonna be so sad if it is.
I actually got just some pushback and criticism from people who are like, you're not a vegan. You're actually very much so not a vegan. Like, hey, it's really cool what you're trying to do and it's clear that you're like an animal lover, but it's like good efforts, but you're not a vegan though. And the main reason for that being was that I talked about my reasons for wearing recycled leather. I shouldn't say recycled leather. I should say secondhand leather.
I must have had that in my brain. I guess she talked about that in the other video. So yeah. Leather. I've also gotten in trouble. People were like mad at me because I've said before, like, I don't really care about leather. Obviously I care. I don't want people buying leather, but there was a whole thing with someone, I can't remember, some vegan who had like leather shoes. People were freaking out and I was like, it's just not the same as what we eat in terms of impact. How often are you buying leather shoes versus how often are you eating, right? So ew, what was that sound? Just a little like mouth fart. And leather shoes, jackets, whatever from like Goodwill. I don't care. You can make an argument like if it's Plato's Closet, is that even still around, where they would like buy your used stuff? There's more of a market for used leather than Plato's Closet or whatever will pay more money to people for their used leather. And then people are maybe more likely to buy leather in the first place, knowing that they can resell it for a decent amount. I guess you can make that sort of argument, sure, maybe, but yeah, it's not something I'm gonna really talk about. I just don't care that much. The only time I care to talk about leather is when people are like, oh my God, the pleather is actually worse for the environment than leather. No, it's not. I talked about this in a video recently. I can't remember which one, but like, no, it is not.
I have coats and jackets from my mom from like the 80s and 90s. They're in still amazing, incredible shape. And I will choose wearing that jacket over buying a new coat, a new vegan leather coat, perhaps.
Yeah, at that point, it's just a personal thing. Like for me, I don't want to wear leather because yucky. I mean, really, like it would make me feel bad and I would think a lot about where that leather came from and it would make me sad. Just being real, like I wouldn't do that. 10 years ago, could I have? Sure. Although I don't like leather, but I don't think it would have affected me in that way. But yeah, it would make me sad. And I know it would make my husband sad as well. So like, no.
During my treatment for OCD, when I was in ERP therapy, I'm graduated, thank you very much. When I was in treatment for it, veganism was actually something that we talked about quite a lot because it gave me so much anxiety. Because the problem with OCD a lot of times is people suffer with black and white thinking. And at least my problem was like, I either am or I am not. And so like that comment specifically of being like, you are not a vegan because we say no and you do not fit the exact criteria. Morally, that really conflicted me and I struggled with feeling like I was a good person.
Aw, fuck y'all, man. Like, words affect people. Can you please be a little bit more careful? Like, goddamn. Sorry. This is supposed to be a nice video, I think. We have to be so careful with what we say online. We don't know how people are going to take certain things, and something like that to say, no, you're not really vegan. Like, what is even the point? What's even the point of saying something like that? There's a difference between talking about definitions and how like hardline we should be with the vegan definition. Should we say, no, don't use the term at all if you are wearing leather? The definition itself, at least the Vegan Society definition, which I think most of us use, is not hardline to the best of your ability, essentially, right? And I personally think it's probably really important for people to be able to label themselves in such a way, to be able to call themselves vegan, even if they are not even eating vegan all of the time, right? They're like an aspiring vegan or something. I think that can be really powerful just mentally. So I have no problem with talking about labels and definitions, but just to, if I'm remembering that video correctly, like someone who obviously cares a lot about animals and is trying to do a good job, like why would what comes out of your mouth is no, you're not really vegan? Why is that the part you focus on?
With the rise of conservatism and beef tallow skincare,
that's not real. That's not real. That's not real. Why am I even Googling it? I don't want to know. Tallow and honey balm. Cool. Isn't it comedogenic? How do you say that word? Like clogs pores? I would imagine that clogs pores.
I remember I went to this circus with a family friend. I need to know everything about the Ringling Barnum and Bailey circus. And so I was like looking it up on tumblr.com because that was my main website of choice when I was 13, 12, however old I was.
Wait, is that how people used Tumblr? Used it as like Google? I don't know. I never used Tumblr. I'm a little too old maybe, but that's adorable.
And I remember all these posts coming up about how the circus is responsible for a lot of animal abuse against specifically their elephants and I believe they're tigers at the time, but I know for a fact they're elephants. And that really stuck with me. And I remember kind of falling down a hole of watching these like horrific videos, so much so that it disgusted me, and I was like, oh my god, I want to do everything possible that one day. Obviously with OCD, at least for me, being a good ethical person is something that I really struggle with. Like oftentimes my OCD will tell me I am a bad person. Like I am a really, really bad person. And so making good decisions that harm the least amount of people, like every decision that I make in life in general, that's something that comes up a lot.
I haven't heard a lot about OCD and veganism, but eating disorders and veganism has been, a pretty hot topic over the last decade or so. I have a whole video talking about it. It's a review of a really terrific book on the topic that I highly recommend. So check that out if you're interested. But yeah, eating disorders, OCD, any sort of obsessive type personality, may have trouble with any sort of restrictive diet, right? Which if you're going to be vegan, obviously part of that is following a restrictive diet. It's another reason why, we should be really careful just getting mad at people for not doing things perfectly, for not being real vegans. You know what I mean? There are certain things like that make it a lot harder for someone to be vegan, or maybe puts their mental health at risk to follow something so strictly.
The dining halls weren't the absolute best when it came to food options. I definitely wasn't giving myself the amount of nutrients that I needed for sure. Led to my family often being worried about my blood test results. Nicole, maybe it's time to start eating meat again, or at least fish. But that was something I was very passionate about, and I was like, no, that is not something that I want to do in any way. I want to stay vegan for the rest of my life. I don't foresee that changing whatsoever.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things. Again, talking about eating disorders specifically, and I guess OCD, right? I guess becoming vegan could be a result of one's OCD if they feel like they're having an issue with the idea of eating animals, not ethical issues or environment, but just like, oh, it's a gross thing. Do you know what I mean? Like a sort of obsessive thing. You got to figure out what the reason is, right? Is it a result of OCD or eating disorder sort of like mindset, or is it a genuine like, no, I don't want to eat animals because I don't want to eat animals?
And I know a lot of people who stop being vegan for health reasons. I remember on YouTube, like when veganism YouTube was still very much so a thing, when someone would stop being vegan in the community, people would have to make videos being like, this is why I'm no longer a vegan. And then these vegan pages would sometimes make videos about them and like criticize them and pick apart and being like, you didn't try hard enough, you didn't do this. And these are all the examples of it. Just is such an unwelcoming space. And I'm like, how could this possibly foster anyone to consider going vegan? The thing that I've learned about how people respond to veganism and also food choices in general is with empathy and like bringing people in rather than pushing people away. I think about that way a lot of things, like even politically. The older that I get is more so like my intention and goal is to bring people in and educate them rather than push them away and alienate them. Whereas when I was younger, it was very much so alienate. I want nothing to do with people who I disagree with. I would rather live in a bubble. I'm getting older. I'm thinking differently now.
Very nicely said. I've obviously made a lot of videos over the years going through these like ex-vegan accounts and ex-vegan videos. It's a tough thing because I don't want it to come across like I'm picking apart things. There are some videos where it's like, I did a hair analysis and it told me I have to eat meat, and at that point it's like, well, we we have to talk about this. It's a fine line. You know, you want to be honest, and I want to be honest. I don't want to baby people, but I also want to be welcoming, you know, be empathetic, like she said. And, you know, the same with politics, not to talk super politics, but it just popped in my brain because I just watched this video that's not about politics at all. The YouTuber just ended it with, you know, basically anyone MAGA or Trump or anything is like not welcome here. I get it, but I also don't think that's helpful to push people away like that. I'm not saying we have to welcome every single person, you know, it is an individual thing, certainly. I think a lot of those people are coming from a place of like, oh, all of the people who support Trump and whatever else, they must know all of the information and just say, oh yeah, that's fine with me, which is definitely not the case. I just watched a video, I don't know who it was, but some like podcaster, I guess, a MAGA person called in and they were like, yeah, Trump is like he's a Jesus dude, you know, he's a God-fearing Christian man because abortion. And then the guy was like, well, what about immigration? Pretty sure Jesus was like really cool with foreigners, right? And the guy was like, oh yeah, I guess so. And he kept bringing up all these ways in which Trump was not a God-fearing Christian man. And the guy was just like, oh yeah, you could tell he had no idea, right? He knew like 2 things about Trump and went, yep, that's my guy. Obviously, there are people who do know all of the horrible things and they're like, yep, that's my guy. But I think there are so many more who really don't. And I mean, there's so many who are just Republican because their family was Republican and because everyone always voted Republican. And so you just vote Republican. Most people are ignorant, not malicious, I guess. This is my point there. Anyway, I like what she said, is my point.
Anytime that I would wear any shoes or like jackets, for example, if I would like take an Instagram photo and I would just post it, sometimes I would get comments being like, are you still vegan? And the answer is yes, I am still vegan.
I'm sure that's happened a number of times too, you know, where people stopped talking about it because it was just like, whoa, okay, this is too much. And then, oh, they're not talking about it. Okay, they must not be vegan anymore. Let's spam their Instagram. Are you vegan? Are you vegan? Are you vegan? Maybe not helpful.
Vegans, if you don't know, don't consume any animal products, which includes eggs, honey. Some people go as far to say even figs. Wasps will crawl into them and then give birth and then die inside of them. It's a lot. Some figs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not even the figs that we eat normally. We actually have a fig tree. We haven't got... Oh no, I think we did get a fig from it. It's getting pretty big. He's a chunky little tree now. But yeah, the fig thing is just another, you know, meat eaters trying to make us look dumb so they don't have to try that. Okay, good job, guys. Yeah, maybe I'll make a video about that.
If I ever did eat something that was not vegan, even by accident, even if I was given something at a restaurant and it was not vegan, which has happened before, I would feel like a terrible person. Like I felt like a major fault on my part and I felt like contaminated almost. And if you suffer with OCD and you have contamination OCD, for example, as a theme, then you might know what I'm talking about, but I just felt dirty and wrong. Whereas now I think I would have a lot more empathy towards myself in that kind of situation because of being able to forgive myself and being able to realize that I am not a perfect human and I don't need to be this perfect vegan and there's not some scoreboard up in the sky that like when I accidentally break vegan, even if it's by accident or even on purpose, there's not some magical scoreboard in the sky that a tally suddenly is going to be written on and then everyone in the world will know I'm a bad vegan. I'm a fake vegan.
Contamination, I guess, is what they call it. I was saying gross earlier, but yeah, that sort of thing. Maybe you feel contaminated when you eat meat, right? So it's not really an ethical thing. It's more of just a disgust response. And I can see someone maybe going vegan because of that, right? So it's more because of their disorder rather than in spite of it. And that might be something, you know, you need to talk to a therapist about, you know, and figure out. Again, the same with eating disorder. If you're vegan because you think it can help you eat less food or something, right? Like maybe that's a problem.
As much as I don't love the byproduct of an animal being used as clothing, there's a lot more sustainable, lasts longer, and if you were to ever discard of that item because eventually maybe it will not serve you anymore, you can't wear it anymore for whatever reason, at the landfill, we will not have plastic. That vegan leather jacket or vegan leather shoe is gonna last on the planet hundreds of more years than that leather jacket, that real leather jacket or real leather shoe.
Maybe I'll make a separate video about this too. I do have a whole section on leather versus vegan leather, like environmentally in some video. I don't know where. I need to keep track of all this stuff. Animal leather, cow leather is not more sustainable than plastic, but obviously better than both would be buying used.
Animals that are not even born yet will be suffering due to that. Not to even mention the humans that will be suffering because of our landfill issue, but the animals.
She's making it sound like leather is like this natural thing. It is not. The whole leather making process is disgusting and really bad for the people around it.
There's a reason why there are clothing items at those stores from years ago that still hold up and have been in multiple families, multiple homes, multiple users wearing them, because that shit holds up.
Yeah, and I've seen that sentiment over and over again when it comes to boots specifically. You know, it's a lot harder to find vegan boots that actually last versus leather, like work boots, right? I have non-leather boots that I've had for years and they've held up just fine, but I don't wear them super often. I mean, I wear them more often now because I'm walking the doggo who's sleeping down here. I'm walking her when it's like rainy, you know. I like to wear them, but they've held up fine for me. And jackets, I don't know, like what's happening to people's jackets? I don't feel like I'm buying jackets and coats and stuff all the time because they're not leather or filled with down or something. I mean, I wish I could say that buying the vegan leather, pleather, whatever is like, you know, kind of like the plant-based meat market, right? By buying these foods, we're supporting these companies and hopefully furthering the market, right? And helping the market improve. But most pleather is just cheap. Like companies aren't trying to make it better or more sustainable, right? That's not really how the fashion industry works. And the ones that are, they're using different materials to make leather. Those things like aren't available yet, or they are, but they're very, very expensive, like luxury products. They're not something you're just going to find in stores. So it's a little bit different, but if you can, I do think it's a good idea to support those endeavors, the pineapple leather and whatever, because we're not going to have something that rivals the longevity of leather if we don't support the vegan leather industry. I refuse to accept that we have to use animal skin for boots that last. No, I have no doubt we will develop other material that doesn't rely on the death of animals.
You can go to a vintage store, pretty easily find a real fur coat, whereas all these like modern brands are creating faux fur jackets that are made out of plastic. And you know, some of the comments are like, well, I don't want to wear fur. I don't want to. You don't have to. You really don't have to. But I don't think that somebody wearing a real fur coat secondhand is a bad person.
No, they're not. And to be clear, I don't think most vegans think that either. I just think about Ghostbusters, ladies wearing the fur coat and it's got the face and then it comes to life. Like that's just an animal on you. Holy shit. But honestly, I feel like that about leather too. We were in IKEA a couple weeks ago and the leather couches made me like, ugh, like I won't touch them. I know, guys. Get on my level. What am I, like 20 now? Level 20 vegan? I don't know, man. Get good. But yeah, if someone is so obsessed with other people using used stuff made from animals, like I don't know, that's just very strange to me. But she hasn't mentioned, like, look, you can buy used non-animal stuff too. You know, a lot of the stuff I buy is used. I use ThredUp a lot because I don't like going into stores and shopping, trying stuff on. Oh, it's the worst.
Why doesn't everyone want to give more of a fuck about the environment? Why doesn't everyone want to care about the animals more? We're literally pushing people away. We're literally pushing people away by just immediately calling them bad people for decisions that they have been making their whole life and that they don't see morally as a problem. It is just benefiting literally no one.
I don't think it's helpful to just tell people you're bad and to present it as, duh, isn't this so obvious? You know, isn't being vegan and not buying leather so obvious? When people can go, well, no, literally every person I know isn't vegan. So no, no, it's not obvious. But that doesn't mean if we're super nice and welcoming that we'll change their minds and they'll go vegan. You know, like most people just will not. They don't care enough about animals. They don't care enough to change their lifestyle because it is a big change, you know, especially for people who have kids and jobs and responsibilities. There's like so much going on, you know, it's a whole thing. Like it's easy for me to think like, God, why can't y'all just stop eating meat? But look, I went vegan years ago, 16 now, something like that, well before I had children. There's a very good chance if I weren't vegan today, I would stay not vegan. You know, I imagine it would be a lot harder for me to go vegan with 3 children. Point is, we should be empathetic and not, you know, actively push people away and be mean. But also, like I said earlier, I don't think we should baby people. We should be honest about the situation and also honest with ourselves that people just don't care a whole lot. You know, even if it's just slightly inconvenient for most people, they're not going to change. We've got to make it easier for people to care. And I think the best way we do that is changing the food environment, changing the market so that there are lots of affordable plant-based options that are delicious. And that's just going to take a lot of time and a lot of work from people who aren't me.
And I went from wearing secondhand leather, hey, I'll even wear firsthand leather now, because now sometimes the shoes that I buy will intentionally be leather so that I know they will last me for years and years and years, rather than me buying, once again, plastic shoes that are going to rip apart within months or a year.
Just to be clear, just because shoes have some leather in them doesn't mean they're going to last a long time. Like, most sneakers have a little bit of leather. It doesn't mean they're going to last longer than the shoes that have none, right? Like, my sneakers last just as long as all the other sneakers I used to buy. Like, there's no issue there because there's usually so little leather, if any, in most shoes like that, right? So I assume she's talking about like some sort of boots. Even then, it depends on how you're using them, how often you're wearing them. Like, it's not that clear cut that like leather boots are just so much better than the vegan options.
I would rather have one really, really good leather belt than 4 plastic faux leather belts from Target that are going to fall apart.
Okay, but that's a false dichotomy. There are more expensive vegan leather belts that are going to last you a lot longer than the $5 ones from Target. Probably not $5 now, probably $20 for cheap Target belts.
The faux leather belt at Target is sometimes all that we can afford. Making choices on clothing, especially when it comes to ethics, and oftentimes, unfortunately, sustainability and quality is such a massive privilege, because sometimes that is all that is at our disposal.
There was some video a while ago that was talking about sustainability and whatnot, and they acted like it was just so expensive to buy secondhand. And it's like, dude, Goodwill, what are you talking about? She's kind of doing that here. Yeah, you can save a lot of money thrifting, actually, and it's not that hard to do. A lot of us live very near a Goodwill. And if it's like, oh, well, you know, now it's just full of Temu and Shein stuff. Okay, but they were going to buy that shit anyway, new, because it's cheap. Better to buy it from Goodwill, right?
It is no secret. YouTubers make good money. It would be silly as fuck of me, ignorant, to be like, guys, save all your coin to save up and get a Reformation real leather belt. Fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'm not buying a real Reformation leather belt.
What is Reformation?
I do think that a lot of people are playing like the ethical Olympics, though, and look for problems within everyone, no matter what. Looking for problems within every single community to just find a problem with them.
Yeah, so there are two. There's the vegans doing it, talking about veganism specifically, you know, and I think there is some amount of like, they want to feel like they're the best one, you know, but then there's also outsiders doing it because they want to kind of take the heat off themselves, so to speak. I think there's some level of they know what they're doing is wrong and not great for themselves or the environment or the animals, but instead of focusing on that, it feels a lot better to be like, yeah, but look at the vegans, they're all hypocrites.
I would get a bagel sometimes, and I would always ask for tofu cream cheese. This time in particular, I tasted it and I immediately knew this is regular cream cheese. And my thought process in that moment, I was going through ERP therapy at the time, so I was like, you know, learning how to battle these black and white feelings with OCD, you know? And I said to myself, this tastes really fucking good. I also haven't had real cream cheese in like almost a decade. I was like thinking to myself, and I was like, okay, I could go back to the barista and tell them, hey, this is regular cream cheese. Could I get a replacement? Completely valid if I did say that, by the way. Especially if I had like a severe milk allergy, it wasn't what I ordered, whatever. Valid, completely valid. But in that moment, I was like, I don't mind in this moment to eat this, and I think it'd be a good exposure for me to just eat this bagel, because if I give it back, it will get thrown away. And that I don't love. I don't love the idea of food waste. And so I thought to myself, I could just finish this bagel. And hopefully the next time, you know, they'll do tofu cream cheese, and hopefully I'll spot it earlier just by the look of it. And I did that. And I ate that. And I ate that bagel. That was a couple years ago. And to some people, it's like, well, you're not a real vegan for that. And that's okay.
Like she said, it's just personal. We actually have some in the fridge right now. Nourish, is that what it's called? Clean cream cheese made from the fermented way. And yeah, it's a whole lot better than the vegan cream cheeses. Vegan cream cheese has not improved since Tofutti. I don't know who made the first vegan cream cheese. It's still weird and waxy. This actually has that like creaminess that dairy, you know, real quote unquote dairy cream cheese has. It doesn't just melt away into the bagel. So I think it wouldn't gross me out too much. I think I would be able to finish it. But yeah, I think that is preferable to just throwing it away and getting a new one. But also probably say something, you know, very nicely to the staff just to let them know, hey, I accidentally got cream cheese, you know, just to maybe tell them, hey, maybe be a little more careful, you know.
One time Jake was house sitting and I went to go visit him. There were chickens. They were amazingly taken care of. Like basically the whole entire backyard was like their home, and they had an amazing coop. They were just treated so well. I wanted to be a chicken living there. These chickens will never be killed to be eaten. They're just there for their eggs and to just live and hang out. And so Jake was like, hey, yeah, they're gonna lay the eggs anyway, and offered if I wanted to take some eggs home. Although this is something that vegans don't eat because it is a byproduct of an animal and we don't consume that, in my head I thought to myself, I don't see the issue with eating an egg from a chicken that is going to produce this egg anyway. And that would save me from having to buy just egg.
That's $8 now, $7.99. I think they did increase the size of the package a little bit. It's like 16 ounces now, but still $8.
This was also around the time when I was really worried about my protein intake because I was feeling extremely tired all the time. My daily meals were like mainly carbs, which is great. Carbs are amazing. I had a really hard time with eating tofu because of the texture, and I was just like, how could I get more protein in me that isn't protein powder? And so eggs were something that I was really thinking about and I toyed with. Ultimately, I decided it's not something I wanted to do. I even went up to a sanctuary called Tamerlane Sanctuary up for my birthday, and I talked to them. I was like, do you guys ever consider like eating their eggs because they're gonna do it anyway? And you know, they were talking about like, we just personally don't have a desire to, but like, yeah, like we understand like what you're talking about. That is kind of the place that I'm at with that. I'm not saying I will never, ever eat an egg, but I remember watching like vegan YouTubers who were like so devoutly vegan, and then they would suddenly like make a vlog and they're like, what I eat in a day? I'm visiting my parents and they have chicken, so I am gonna eat 2 eggs. And then all the comments would be like, you're not vegan anymore. You are not a vegan. Like you are a fake vegan. Like you literally, you're fooling us all. And then there would be drama pages about vegans and veganism and being like, you are a bad person, you ate an egg. And then I'm like, why am I an adult with anxiety?
She's funny. To be fair, some people do comment, I think, not meaning to be so exclusionary or inflammatory, like you're not vegan, but just, you know, really wanting to maintain that strict definition, which I can understand. You know, I'm trying to steelman them to the best of my ability. But yeah, it's hard. I think most people are doing that very obnoxious, you aren't part of the club. But yeah, I've talked about backyard hens plenty of times before. You know, as always, there's a lot of nuance there. I personally, I don't like eggs. I never liked scrambled eggs or omelets or anything like that. I have no desire to bake with eggs. I don't think it's necessary. So yeah, not for me. Oh, the smell of it. Oh God, gross. We have a bunch of neighbors with hens, even if they were like selling eggs or giving eggs away. Like I personally would not like that. A lot of the chickens around here, they have pretty small enclosures. There's one in particular I walk by with my dog. It's not great. Like it's pretty small. I talked about that recently too. There's been a lot of abuse involving backyard hens and this sort of little industry that's sprung up out here in Portland. This has been one of the hot spots from people being like, yeah, I'm gonna get chickens. Yeah, they're a lot of work, bro. You sure about that? These chickens suffering abuse or just being given up to sanctuaries and whatnot because, hey, it turns out taking care of a living thing takes some work. You don't just walk out there, grab an egg, and walk away. There are so many problems in the world. There's so many problems with animal agriculture to be super upset about someone deciding to eat eggs from a hen in someone's backyard. I am just not gonna focus on that or really care about that at all, quite frankly.
You could still be a vegan and be like, what I eat causes no harm, but like, then again, the food that you are buying, the produce that you are buying is literally giving money towards slave labor and migrants getting paid cents per the hour just to pick some of the produce that we eat. I try and buy local.
Hey, I got to reference it again. My goal is to reference this article in every single video. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. I don't think she was talking about environment necessarily, but yeah, it's the foods that you eat, not where they are grown for the most part. If she's talking about like workers' rights and treatment of workers, you know, buying locally doesn't guarantee that either. Doesn't guarantee better treatment or that you're avoiding certain things. So you know, yeah, as always, like there's nuance. Oh my God, my kid is just screaming. Blah, 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 blah.
Not to mention there's also so many cultures where hunting is really, really important to them. Like for example, Native and Indigenous people. I personally don't love hunting and I will never hunt, especially hunting for sport, trophy hunting. But there are countries and states even in America where buying food can be so inaccessible that hunting is not only so ingrained in part of your culture, but also as a means to exist.
There's a difference between it just being cultural to me. I don't really give a shit if something's part of your culture. That doesn't mean it's good. But if we're talking about for actual sustenance, that's a different issue. It just reminded me of the vegan strategist. He just posted something about hunting and coming across some hunters in the woods, and it's just really beautiful. It made me cry, because everything makes me cry now, but I highly recommend reading it. Maybe I'll make a video about that too. It's like really stuck with me since I read it just a few days ago.
I think in general, what I have learned over the past few years of like not only giving myself grace about my own kind of like pushback against veganism, if you could say, looking outside of the bigger picture and like looking outside of these boxes and names and being like, okay, this is vegan, this is not, this is a label and I have to stick within this label or else I don't know what's gonna happen. It's also like understanding and tolerance of others.
Good. That was a nice video. I very much enjoyed that. Yeah, most vegans are just like living their lives and not really talking about it. Certainly not making videos about it, right? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please do leave your comments below. Let me know your thoughts on some of the stuff. Leather, backyard eggs, leather sustainability. Thank you so much to all of my supporters, all of my members here on YouTube, and my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. And I do post 2 exclusive videos a month for tier 2 and up members and patrons. I do a vlog and then I do a controversial topic towards the end of the month. I'll have the vlog up here soon for January. Yeah, that's it for me. Thanks, guys. New video soon. Ooh, does she have the what do they call it, ball, the crystal ball magnetic technique on her nails? There's magnetic nail polish where it has pigment in the polish that you can magnetize and you can like pull it to the top. So if you've ever seen polish where it's got that line in like a different color, that's magnetic polish. That's called the cat eye effect. You use a bar magnet and put it over or under your nail. There's also the velvetized where you use a like horseshoe magnet. You can also use a bar and kind of wiggle it around your nails, so you get this cool like shifty kind of effect where you move your nail around and say the base color is green and the magnetic pigment is purple. From some angles you'll see the green, from some you'll see that purple like on top. It's really cool. There are other ways as well, but yeah, that sort of crystal ball kind of effect has become really popular lately, and people do that by like spinning a magnet over, on top of their nails, not touching, right, but just over, and it makes it look like you've got that little ball in the middle. It's pretty neat. Hers, I think, are probably gel. Her nails look like they're acrylic or something, and gel and magnetic is a lot better than polish or lacquer, which is what I use, right? That you can just take off with acetone because it lasts a lot longer. So you can actually set that magnetic effect in place and it will stay. Whereas with polish, it will diffuse over time. And some polishes are better than others. They're better at getting that crisp line that will stay for even like a few days. I have a couple that are really, really good. But yeah, any polish, it's going to diffuse over time. That's not necessary for anyone, but like I really like nail polish, so it's just fun. I'm admiring her nails. I actually have a thermal polish on. This changes from a black to a pink. I'm not sure if I really love it. I've tried a couple thermals and now's a good time since it's cold. There's a lot of temperature change. The formulas on thermals, they're so thick and weird and they dry down real flat. So even with a glossy top coat, I don't know, it's not super glossy. It looks a little bit weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're for me, and they do die. They don't last forever. Some people actually keep them in the fridge to help them last longer. Yeah, that's a bit much for me.